Caring Review, print speaking to the blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QandReview. That is @CUEANDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@QandReview.com. That is INFORMATION@CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 5th of July. From the news section, like Blackpool illuminations, man jailed for setting fire to house. Report by Esther Tarnow. A Barrhead man who set fire to two properties while conspiring to burn down others has been jailed for 3 years after his encrypted phone messages revealed his crimes. Lewis Connor, 27, used 5 jerry cans filled with petrol to substantially damage a house in Denny Lonehead, near Falkirk, which was undergoing restoration. 2 days later, a business property in Hamilton was set alight by 2 other men acting alongside Connor. Connor was sentenced at Hamilton Sheriff Court after being found guilty of 2 charges of willful fire raising. He was also convicted of a further charge of conspiring to set fire to various properties and vehicles in Falkirk, Airdrie, Blantyre and Glasgow. The jury heard how Connor had monitored the house in Denny Lonehead whilst its owner was carrying out refurbishments, sleeping in a nearby garage. On May the 9th, 2020, Connor entered the property and set various rooms on the ground floor alight using 5 jerry cans filled with petrol. An encrypted mobile message on the EncroChat platform used by criminals, which the jury accepted was sent by Connor, said, "It was like Blackpool illuminations when I left." He was sentenced to 3 years of imprisonment. Donnie Laurie from the NCA said, "Lewis Connor used EncroChat to boast about his crimes, thinking he was not in the sights of law enforcement. Unfortunately for him, we were able to access his messages and use them to link him to these incidents that destroyed the property of local residents." The NCA will continue to work with our partners in the OCP to bring Connor and criminals like him to justice. Detective Inspector Alan Cuthbert from Police Scotland said, "Connor deliberately targeted these premises with total disregard to whether anyone was inside, and fortunately no one was injured. However, the outcome could have been very different. Although there were no injuries, a fire within residential premises can have long-lasting effects for the residents, and in commercial premises it affects the owner's livelihood." Synodon Corrins, Deputy Procurator Fiscal for Serious Casework at the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service, COPFS, said, "These were highly dangerous crimes which caused widespread damage to the private properties. Lewis Connor boasted of his exploits and enlisted others to carry out similar crimes on his behalf. But he will now pay for those crimes by serving a lengthy term of imprisonment." And that article was written by Esther Tarnow and read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 6th of June, from the news section, angry man attacked salesman with shovel. Report by Esther Tarnow. A man assaulted a car salesman with a shovel and damaged several cars. Robert Miller drove to the Affordable Motor Store in Tollcross on June the 13th, 2023. The Bishop Briggs man parked and workers approached him. He told him something was wrong with the car, which he bought from there. Employees disagreed and Miller became upset. He got in his car and went to the entryway, blocking the road. He got out of the vehicle with a shovel. The 64-year-old struck a worker on the left arm, elbow, forearm, hip and legs. He left the staff member on the ground and went to the cars. He hit numerous vehicles, causing the windows to smash. Finally, he went back to his car and left. Police were called and Miller was traced and attended London Road Police Station. He was cautioned and charged. He appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court last week after pleading guilty to being in possession of the offensive weapon, assaulting the worker and destroying property. His lawyer told the court it was a contractual dispute. He said the car was not fit for purpose. It is not an excuse. Sheriff Vincent Lunny replied, "It's utterly unacceptable. This should not have happened. He has been to jail before. I don't see a way around it." The solicitor added, "That is one of his difficulties. He is not working, but it doesn't excuse what he did. He is not going to be visiting this firm again." The sheriff asked how much damage was caused, but the Crown did not have an estimate. Sentence was deferred for more information on the extent of the damage. And that report was written by Esther Tarnay and read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 6th of June, from the news section. Dad set to honour stillborn son with burpee challenge. Report by Charles Pring. A bereaved dad will be attempting almost 3,000 burpees in 7 hours to raise money for charity after his son was stillborn last December. Pete McLennan, 37, sent himself the daunting challenge of completing 2,681 burpees in a single day, one for every baby born stillborn in the UK during 2022, plus one extra for his son Finn. Money raised from Pete's gruelling effort will go to Baby Loss Retreat, a Scottish charity that supports parents to the passing of a child. Pete from Clarkson described the shattering experience of going through the stillbirth after what was a totally normal pregnancy. In some cases, parents have an inkling that something might be wrong. Maybe it comes up in a scan or some blood work. But my wife Annie had a scan 2 days before she went into labour and everything was fine. We got to the hospital 2 days later and they couldn't find a heartbeat. We were devastated. It was horrific. It's horrible. There's no other way to describe it. Praising the unbelievable midwives from Paisley Royal Alexander Hospital, Pete said that the kindness and support that he and his wife Annie received during and after the ordeal made him want to give something back. He chose burpees, which involved dropping from a standing position into a full press-up, then leaping back onto your feet, specifically due to their reputation for being particularly brutal. "I didn't want to do a marathon or anything like that," he said. "I hate running, but I wanted to do something hard. I had a few comments from people saying burpees are horrendous, burpees are the worst. I can't believe you chose burpees. I basically just chose something that I thought would be tough, that people would be willing to part with their hard-earned money for." Pete originally aimed to raise £2,000, but said he had already collected almost £7,000 for the cause, including £1,500 raised over 2 days of public burpee training in Mayor's Avenue shopping centre, and now has hit his sights on the £10,000 mark. He added that the fundraiser was a way to thank Baby Loss Retreat for their support and to help the charity continue its commendable work. "They were really good," said Pete. "We had 5 or 6 counselling sessions with them, and they gave my daughter some music listening counselling as well. As the name suggests, they send you on a sort of retreat. You can either go with your family or as a couple. It gives you time to reflect on what's happened and spend a bit of time together away from normal life. We went away for 2 nights in Fife, which was all paid for by the charity. They give you some prompts and tools for reflection for you to use during your time together, and after what had happened, that time together was so invaluable." The dad of 4, who said he had not stepped foot in a gym for years and had been training in his garage, will be attempting the Herculean feat in Shawlands Newlands Park on July the 20th. He encouraged people to come along and support and to enjoy some family and friendly activities and entertainment. We're going to have a raffle, face painting, some music, some nursery rhymes for kids, sing-alongs. We're also doing a scavenger hunt, guess the number of sweets in a jar, all the kind of things you'd get at a fete. So not just some middle-aged man doing burpees. All are welcome to attend on July the 20th in Newlands Park from 11 a.m. For more information or to donate, visit justgiving.com/page/burpees4babies. That's JustGiving.com/PAGE/BURPEESFORBABIES. Support from Baby Lost Retreat is warmly offered at babylost.retreat.org.uk. That's BABYLOSSRETREAT.org.uk. And the article was written by Charles Pring. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 6th of July, from the news section. Dismissed workers win huge payout. Report by Gillian McPherson. A group of workers dumped at a moment's notice when a Barrhead-based construction firm closed its doors last year have received a collective payout of approximately £250,000. Alma Construction and its sister company Central Plant Limited, both of which were based on Muriel Street, entered administration last August with blame placed on cash flow problems and a downturn in the house building industry. Alma, which was founded in 1991, supplied specialist groundwork services to house builders, while Central Plant leased plant and machinery and provided haulage services. The businesses had a combined turnover of £25 million and employed 188 people, 184 for Alma and 4 for Central Plant. Initially, it was reported that 181 staff members had been made redundant due to the collapse, but in September administrators confirmed that no jobs had been saved at either Alma or Central Plant. Many of those laid off had spent their working lives with the companies, in some cases up to 25 years. Thomson solicitors recently represented 85 of the former Alma staff members at an employment tribunal who were dismissed out of the blue. The tribunal found in April that there had been a failure by the employer to consult employee representatives before it made everyone redundant. Due to this failure to carry out a consultation process, the tribunal awarded the 85 former staff members 90 days' pay, which is the maximum protective award or compensation that businesses can be ordered to pay out in such instances. In situations like this, however, where the firm has gone into administration, the tab is picked up and paid out by the government's redundancy payment service. The amount that the redundancy payment service can pay out is capped at 8 weeks' pay, which is what the 85 employees have now received or are receiving following a process whereby the judgment is used to obtain the money from the service. Paul Kisson, the senior employment lawyer at Thomson's who secured the cash for the workers, said, "Yet again we have seen a group of loyal and hard-working people dumped at a moment's notice with a complete disregard of employment law. This is becoming far too common not just in Scotland but across the UK. It was extremely gratifying to help secure the Alma workers this money, as otherwise some would have received nothing. It's important for others who find themselves in this kind of situation to know that they can get legal help when their employers go into administration, denying them rightful compensation." And that report was by Gillian McPherson. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 5th of July, from the news section. First bus driver punched drunk man in the face. This article is an exclusive by Esther Tarnay. A bus driver punched his passenger in the face and dragged him off the bus. Around 2:20 p.m. on September the 7th last year, a man was travelling on a first bus. During the journey, he made comments regarding a wheelchair user. This resulted in an altercation and the driver, Andrew Woodhouse, asked the man to leave the bus. He refused. The bus stopped on Pollockshores Road and the two men confronted each other face to face. The 55-year-old applied force to remove the man from the bus. He dragged him towards the first doorway. The passenger managed to kick him off, but Woodhouse grabbed him with two hands and dragged him to the front of the bus, letting him fall in the doorway. He then dragged him onto the street. Woodhouse, of Garra Hill, left the man on his back on the ground. He then punched him in the face and kneeled by him. The other passengers left and called the police. When officers arrived, they saw the passenger with a head injury. He was taken to hospital where he had 4 lumps on his head and 2 lacerations on his face. Woodhouse was cautioned and taken to Cathcart Police Station. He appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court last week after he pleaded guilty to assaulting a man, kicking him on the body, pulling and dragging him off the bus. He admitted to repeatedly punching him on the head to his severe injury and permanent disfigurement. His lawyer said, he is 55 years old. He lives with his wife. He is a man who is in full-time employment. He is still employed by West Coast Buses. He has no previous convictions. This took place when he was working. He was driving the bus and a drunk passenger came on the bus. The complainer was verbally abusive towards a wheelchair user. He became more and more abusive. He asked him to leave, but he did not. That was when he took the incorrect decision to forcibly remove him and he punched him in the face. The report suggests he does not take full responsibility, but I have spoken to him and he does. He accepts he is the one who became physical first. Sheriff Vincent Lunny replied, I take it the company has a procedure for this. The solicitor remarked, he accepts he took matters into his own hands. He is responsible for his own actions. There may have been some elements of provocation. He does reflect and explain there are other ways he could have dealt with this. He was under a lot of stress then. He does describe it as extremely out of character. The sheriff said, I would hope that this is very much a one-off. In some ways this offence is inexplicable. This is what the police are for. You are in a position of trust. This is very much a horrible offence. Given your record, I will be able to deal with it by way of a community payback order. Woodhouse was sentenced to 200 hours of unpaid work and fined £1,000. In that article was an exclusive by Esther Tarnay. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 5th of July, from the news section. Man hurled sectarian abuse at company boss. This article is written by Connor Gordon. A bigot hurled sectarian abuse at his company's directors after he resigned. Christopher Innes, 38, made the comments towards Bernard and Shaw in Corrigan on June 3rd, 2022. Innes left his employment at Bernard's fishmonger firm in Glasgow city centre after he believed he was the victim of demeaning behaviour. He told his boss to stick your job up your A****E and called him a Fenian A****** hole. Innes of Kilsyth, North Lanarkshire, went on to bombard Bernard and Shaw with phone calls and text messages. One referred to the pair as Fenian scumbags. Innes pleaded guilty at Glasgow Sheriff Court to committing 2 offences against the Communications Act aggravated by religious prejudice. The court heard that Innes had a disagreement with the 2 men on the day of his resignation. Innes removed his uniform and walked out without mentioning his departure to anyone. He called Bernard on his mobile to inform him of his resignation and became abusive. Innes said, stick your job up your A****E. You are an A***** hole. Not just that, you're a Fenian A***** hole. Bernard was alarmed, deeming his former employee's comments to be sectarian and abusive. Innes went on to send text messages to Bernard. One said, you have not heard the last of me, you P***************. Another read, absolute Fenian scumbags, I promise that. Robbing B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Yes. Sean received a number of phone calls from Innes which were not answered. He also was sent abusive text messages, one of which referred to Sean getting a sore face. Patrick Breckeney, defending, told the sentencing his client now works as a roofer. The lawyer added, he claimed he thought there was a demeaning behaviour towards him in his employment. This is not an excuse for the texts and calls that his employers received. He does accept behaving in this manner is inappropriate and distressing for those who have to endure it. Sheriff Simone Sweeney imposed a £335 compensation order and put him under supervision for 12 months. And that article was written by Connor Gordon. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 5th of July, from the news section. Man smashed taxi window with passengers inside. This article is an exclusive by Esther Tarnay. A Glasgow man kicked off at his taxi driver and smashed his car window. Darren Gray approached a taxi at 2:55 p.m. on August 19, 2022 on Paisley Road West. He asked to be taken to the south side and then started shouting and swearing. He told the driver, "Get out and go back home. I will spit on you, black B asterisk 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 D." The 31-year-old walked away and other people came to the taxi driver and sat in the car. Gray of Cessnock continued to make remarks about the driver, who started to drive away. He then struck the window of the vehicle, causing it to smash and glass to fall towards his passengers. The driver stopped the car and asked the passengers to get out. Police were called. Gray was chased, arrested, cautioned and charged. The damage he caused was £580. He appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court last week after pleading guilty to acting aggressively, uttering derogatory and racially aggravated comments, and punching the window. Gray also admitted to a charge of acting aggressively towards a former partner and threatening her. Sheriff Vincent Lunny said, "These are quite appalling offences, he could easily go to jail." Gray's lawyer replied, "He understands that, but there are alternatives to custody available." The report details his upbringing and the problems he had in his life. He is very centred on being employed and being able to work. He would engage with unpaid work. He is suitable for the Caledonian project. Sheriff Lunny noted that the report said he was not willing to engage with that programme, which addresses domestic abuse. It's not his first domestic offence. His lawyer replied, "The relationship with the complainer ended and he has no intention to resume it." Gray was sentenced to 2 years of supervision with 2 requirements. The first is a conduct requirement to engage with addiction services. The second is a restriction of movement requirement for 163 days, which will keep him at his home address between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. every day. He also has to complete 135 hours of unpaid work and was fined £750. Sheriff Lunny told Gray, "You should be utterly ashamed of yourself." And that article is an exclusive by Esther Tarnay. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 5th of July, from the news section. Pub owned by ex-Celt is up for sale after 33 years. This article is unattributed. A Glasgow pub owned by a late Celtic legend has been put up for sale after 33 years. Former Hoops forward Harry Hood bought the Croft in 1978 and it took 10 years to secure planning permission to turn it into a pub in an initially dry area of the city's south side. He persevered and finally opened the Croft venue in 1991 as a community pub, serving food, showing sports games and providing entertainment to visitors. After more than 33 years, the family business, Lisney Pub Company, has placed the pub in the market. Brian Sheldon, of business sales agent Christie & Co, is managing the sale at an asking price in excess of £1.35 million. Described as traditional but contemporary, the venue features a 90-cover restaurant and a large public bar. Over the years, the pub has earned a reputation as a popular pub, dubbed a hidden gem of the community. Grant Hood, the managing director of Lisney, said, "The decision to sell the Croft has not been an easy one. The Croft has been a cherished part of the Hood family for many years and has been in sole ownership of the Hoods. Our commitment to the community and our patrons has always been at the heart of everything we do at Lisney. Since our inception in 1969, Lucini Pub Company has earned a reputation for exceptional service, quality hospitality, and strong community ties. The decision to sell the Croft is part of a broader strategy to streamline our operations and invest more deeply in our venues and the development and well-being of our employees. The sale of the Croft will allow us to focus on our remaining venues, Angels Hotel, Dale Park Hotel, Parkville Hotel, and the Castle Rooms, and will ensure we can continue to provide the highest standard of service and hospitality our guests have come to expect. And the article was unattributed.
From Glasgow Times, Friday, 5th of July, Lifestyle section, Glasgow and Edinburgh among the best UK cities for food and drink, by Andrew Smart. Glasgow and Edinburgh have been named among the best cities in the UK for food and drink. The Scottish locations were named alongside other spots across Britain, including Bristol and Liverpool. Introducing the ranking, which said, "If you want to eat well, you should head north." Bristol was the only large city south of Manchester to get 4 stars for food and drink. Glasgow and Edinburgh were the only Scottish cities to feature on the Which list, and were praised for their cosy cafes, classy cocktails, and inexpensive food and drink scenes. Discussing the nation's capital, the consumer watchdog said, "In Scotland's capital, you'll be able to savour a lot more than the traditional haggis, neeps and tatties, although that's an option too. Burn off a few calories as you hop from cosy cafes to classy cocktail bars in the city's beautiful compact centre. David Band's vegetarian restaurant in the Old Town is one of the best value options, with a 2-course set menu for £22.50, including lentil haggis as well as Middle Eastern and Mediterranean influences. Thistle Street in the new town has a livelier scene and plenty of top picks, including snug Asian-influenced Noto, which is tucked away down a cobbled alley. Down the road, Scottish Bistro Cafe St Honoré serves up locally sourced ingredients with style. Don't leave the city without visiting Edinburgh's creative Port District, Leith, with its fine dining, seafood bistros, quirky gastropubs, and the city's first wine cafe, Toast. Recommending the country's largest city, which added, "There's an age-old rivalry between Glasgow and Edinburgh, with both jockeying to be Scotland's fine dining capital. Both scored high marks for food and drink. Cool and unpretentious, Glasgow has a vibrant but inexpensive food and drink scene. In the trendy West End, cobbled back street Ashton Lane is full of charming restaurants such as the ubiquitous Chip, serving fine Scottish fare. Finiston's Argyll Street is lined with serious coffee shops, gourmet sandwich joints and Swiss restaurants. The Glass Vegan on St Enoch's Square dishes up towering burgers and is just one of many meat-free cafes across the city." That article was by Andrew Smart. From Glasgow Times, Friday, 5th July, Lifestyle section, "Multiple roads in Glasgow will be closed for Orange Walk," by Rebecca Newlands. Multiple roads in Glasgow will be closed for an Orange Walk parade tomorrow. Boyne parades are taking place around the city, with 50 parades on Saturday, July the 6th. Thousands of members and followers converge on Glasgow Green for the annual County Grand Orange Lodge of Glasgow Boyne celebration. The individual feeder parades start at various points around the city before 4 groups from the north, west, east and south merge in the city centre and head to Glasgow Green. More than 3,500 participants are estimated, with many more people following alongside. Glasgow City Council has revealed almost 30 road closures on the day. They will be shut between 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, July the 6th. Which roads will be closed for the Orange Walk in Glasgow? Albion Street between George Street and Blackfriars Street, Anchor Lane for its full length, Bell Street between Albion Street and Watson Street, Bridge Gate between King Street and Salt Market, Cochrane Street for its full length, College Street at its junction with High Street, Duke Street between John Knox Street and George Street, Dundas Street for its full length, Gallowgate between Tongate and Watson Street, George Square, all sides, for its full length, George Street for its full length, Greendyke Street for its full length, High Street for its full length, Ingram Street between Albion Street and High Street, Ingram Street between Queen Street and Glassford Street, King Street southbound only between Bridgegate and Osborne Street, London Road between James Morrison Street and Salt Market, Montrose Street between Richmond Street and Ingram Street. Access to the car park remains open. Nelson Mandela Place for its full length, Nelson Street between Bridge Street and Commerce Street, North Hanover Street between Cathedral Street and George Square, North Portland Street between Richmond Street and George Street, Parsonage Row at its junction with High Street, Salt Market for its full length, Shuttle Street for its full length, St Andrews Street for its full length, Tongate between Albion Street and High Street, West George Street between West Nile Street and George Square. That article was by Rebecca Newlands. From Glasgow Times, Friday, 5th of July, Lifestyle section, Ridiculous Reviews Left for Scottish Tourist Attractions by Andrew Smart. Despite Scotland being home to hundreds of iconic landmarks, with each attracting visitors far and wide, some tourists have been left less than impressed for ridiculous reasons. Some visitors have taken to popular travel websites like TripAdvisor to share their disgruntlement and some of the most ridiculous one-star reviews around. Whether it's visitors complaining about the steepness of Ben Nevis or the lack of Nessie sightings at Loch Ness, there are plenty of funny reviews to read. Here are some of the most ridiculous one-star reviews for Scottish landmarks and attractions left behind by tourists on TripAdvisor. Ben Nevis. No list would be complete without mentioning some of the one-star reviews for Scotland's tallest mountain, Ben Nevis. The popular site, which has a 4.5 rating out of 2,622 reviews on TripAdvisor, attracted criticism for being too steep. One reviewer said, "Very steep and uneven pathways that could be doing with some work. No toilets nor shops from bottom to top. I was very hungry and parched. When we arrived at the summit, it was covered in snow. Won't be long till someone has an accident." Another visitor said of the climb, "The walk was boring and unimaginative, lacking 4G signal in many places, and when you got to the top, you couldn't see anything. Basically, this mountain summed up Scotland as a whole, a big disappointment. Also, there is snow at the top. I don't like snow." Loch Ness. Many reviewers were left disappointed by the lack of Nessie viewings at Loch Ness, with one visitor who boasts over 700 contributions writing, "High expectations, but no Nessie today. The lake is wonderful, but when you come for the monster, don't travel there since it will not show up." Another complained about the abundance of shrubs and bushes spoiling their view, saying, "We have rented a car and thought a drive along the loch would be super romantic." Wrong. They have huge hedges, trees and plants blocking the view. Quite a disappointment. Glenfinnan Viaduct. Known for its role in the Harry Potter films, the Glenfinnan Viaduct is popular with Potterheads and other tourists globally. However, the scenic attraction hasn't lived up to everyone's expectations, with one visitor complaining about the ban on drone use in the area. The tourist wrote, "Travelled a long way to photograph the viaduct, only to be told in the car park by old Joe that drones are banned. Yep, banned. The landowner has banned the use of drones due to the noise by his house when he is trying to watch Emmerdale. I didn't know you could ban the use of airspace." One Harry Potter fan accused the site of being very deceiving, saying, "From the postcards and Harry Potter, it seemed so much larger and majestic. This was our great deception in our entire trip to Scotland. That article was by Andrew Smart. From Glasgow Times, Friday, 5th of July, Lifestyle section, Scotland's best whale, dolphin and porpoise watching spots, by Andrew Smart. Scotland has a long and fascinating coastline with some of the world's best spots for seeing extraordinary marine wildlife like whales, dolphins and porpoises. Whether you are travelling along the famous NC 500 or are holidaying in Ayrshire, there are plenty of places to go and see these mammals. Looking at the most popular and well-known viewing spots, we will reveal some of the best places to catch a glimpse of whales, dolphins and more. Here are the best places to see whales, dolphins and porpoises in Scotland this summer. Irvine Beach. For a large and clean beach, look no further than Irvine's, which has been praised by hundreds of visitors. One reviewer on TripAdvisor said, "It is a great place to spot wildlife, as there are seals in the harbour, lots of various birds, swans, sometimes dolphins, and the occasional whale." Irvine Beach is also an ideal walking spot with a number of restaurants and hotels nearby. Chanonery Point, Moray Firth. Chanonery Point is a great place to go whale watching, with some of the best sightings anywhere in the country. The spot is located close to the NC 500 on Ness Road in Fortrose, making it ideal for those travelling along the iconic route. Largs Seafront. This promenade, which stretches along the popular seaside town of Largs, allows visitors to take in the scenery while enjoying a bag of chips from one of the nearby eateries. Visitors have said you can sometimes see whales. Regardless, the spot still offers a leisurely stroll for the whole family to enjoy. Petticoat Harbour, Firth of Forth. Whale watching enthusiasts have dubbed Petticoat Harbour as one of the greatest places to view marine life anywhere in the country. According to Scottish Field, the Firth of Forth is known for the appearance of exotic species like humpback whales, minkies and bottlenose dolphins. Isle of Mull. The Isle of Mull is a more isolated spot for viewing whales and dolphins, with a number of local firms offering boat trips for wildlife viewings. One such excursion company is Sea Life Surveys, which regularly takes visitors out to catch a glimpse of these animals. Seamill. Seamill, which is close to West Kilbride, has spectacular views of the sea and is known as an excellent whale and dolphin viewing spot. Visitors can stay at a number of local hotels, such as the Waterside, just down the road, which also has great windowside views of the Firth of Clyde. That article was by Andrew Smart.
Glasgow Times News on Monday, the 8th of July. Blind man blasts ScotRail for a barrier problem. An exclusive front page article written by Amanda Keenan. A blind man has blasted ScotRail bosses for failing to fix a technical glitch at the barriers of a busy Glasgow station that has caused over a year of disruption for travellers. Sam Howie says he's been prevented from travelling independently as his national entitlement card fails to activate one of the automatic gates at Anderston, despite there being no issues with the smart card at any other rail hub across the country. The 51-year-old says he's forced to wait for a member of staff to manually allow him through each time he arrives, and despite making countless complaints to ScotRail, says the issue has yet to be resolved. Sam, who is from Wishaw and uses the station to travel to his work in the city centre, says, "It's very frustrating for something that should be a simple fix. There's been a lot of money spent upgrading parts of the station, but for some reason this seems to have been ignored. It's quite embarrassing, as I have to wait around until a member of staff comes along and lets me through. Nobody seems to know why it won't work, but surely something can be done to sort it out to save me the constant inconvenience and disruption to my journey. Sometimes, if I'm running late, it can be a nightmare being further held up. It means that I'm adding time onto my journey or missing appointments, and I also feel like it's impacting my ability to travel independently, something that is hugely important to me given my condition. Sam says he is baffled as to why the problem only seems to be at Anderston. He added, "It's odd that it scans normally at every other station, but just not there. I even sent away and got another card just in case there was something wrong with the mechanics of the one I was using, but the second one still didn't work. If it's happening to me, then surely it must be impacting other people who are visually impaired or disabled and rely on their card to travel for free." Sam, who is registered blind, claims he has been raising the issue with ScotRail since May last year and has offered to meet with management to show them at first hand the issues he's experiencing. He told the Glasgow Times, "Despite countless emails, I've heard nothing back, and staff at Anderston have also raised the issue with their bosses, but the problem persists. The station is just a 5-minute walk from my office, so it's the most convenient one for me to use. All I want to do is to go to work as independently as possible without having to deal with this every time I use what should be a reliable service. It's also frustrating that nothing seems to be getting done to sort it out. Obviously, there will be other visually impaired people in the same fix, so surely it makes sense to find out what the issue is and fix it. We're supposed to be encouraging people to use public transport, but this is doing the exact opposite. I feel that this has gone on long enough and now needs to be sorted out." ScotRail says it's now investigating further after being contacted by the Glasgow Times and today apologised for the convenience caused to Sam. Claire Dickey, ScotRail Commercial Director, said, "We are sorry for the issues being experienced by this customer at Anderston Station when using a smart card. We have reviewed the problem and it appears that one gate at the station is displaying a fault with the card reader. This has been passed to our technical team and we're working to find a resolution as soon as possible." Sam added, "I'm grateful to the Glasgow Times for highlighting this and pushing for a resolution. I've been trying for months with no luck, so I'm thankful that it now looks as if it's being looked into and will be addressed." An exclusive front page article written by Amanda Keenan. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 8th of July. Glasgow church where Peter Tobin killed his victim could be turned into flats. An article written by Rebecca Newlands. The Glasgow church where Peter Tobin killed one of his victims could be turned into flats or a hotel. St Patrick's Church in Anderston previously confirmed that it would be closing its doors in the near future due to operational costs and a shortfall in numbers attending the parish. Now, cash-strapped officials are considering obtaining planning permission for the area, which would see it being sold off, the Sunday Mail reports. A spokesperson told the paper, "Sadly, we are now facing the situation that the future of our church and parish is not good, and we can expect the church to close. The Archdiocesan Estates Department is looking at options for the future, including looking for planning permission for uses such as conversion to flats or a hotel." But one local said, "It's the last place anyone would want to spend a night. Peter Tobin's crimes will never be forgotten." The building was the focal point of a murder scene following the disappearance of 23-year-old Polish student Angelika Kluk in September 2006. She had been staying in a room at the church while working as a cleaner, but after her loved ones failed to hear from her for a few days, she was reported missing. Peter Tobin was already a convicted child rapist and was working at the church under an alias, Pat McLaughlin. He met Angelika through their shared time at the church and he raped and murdered her before hiding her body under the floorboards of the chapel. Just hours after he was quizzed by police over Angelika's disappearance, then 60-year-old Peter Tobin went on the run. He was arrested in London and DNA tests went on to link him to Angelika's murder. Days after his arrest, Strathclyde Police launched a nationwide probe into his life and movements. The operation soon linked him to the murders of two other missing girls, Vicky Hamilton, who was 15, and Dinah McNichol, who was 18. The murderer was serving a whole-life order at His Majesty's Prison Edinburgh for the murders of Angelika, Vicky and Dinah, but detectives believe he killed many more. He died from cancer in hospital on October the 8th, 2022, at the age of 76. An article written by Rebecca Newlands. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 8th of July. Vandals target historic Glasgow mansion. An article written by Rebecca Newlands. A historic Glasgow mansion has been broken into and vandalised. Provan Hall in the city's Easterhouse became the target of unknown vandals earlier this week. The organisation which runs the 15th century house says entry was forced into the site and walls and paths have been graffitied. They added that they hope to have the damage repaired as soon as possible. Provan Hall overlooks Auchinleigh Park and is one of the oldest surviving buildings in Glasgow. As well as being steeped in history, it's said to be a haunted house and is reputed as one of Glasgow's top spots for ghost sightings. Described as a national asset, Provan Hall was built as a hunting lodge for Glasgow's bishops, and in the 1930s it was acquired by the National Trust for Scotland, who then leased it to Glasgow City Council. We reported in September 2023 that it reopened to the public after a £3.5 million rebuild project. Meanwhile, thoughtless damage has also been done to a special memorial garden installed in the walls of Provan Hall for people affected by baby loss. We previously reported that the garden opened in May as a safe space for those who have lost a child. A special tree of tranquility is the centrepiece of the garden, and each leaf holds a personal message honouring a baby who has died, but thankfully the tree itself was not affected by the vandalism. A spokesperson for Provan Hall said, "Regrettably, there has been some vandalism at Provan Hall this week. The area was broken into and walls and paths have been spray painted. We apologise if this affects the experience some visitors have when they visit our beautiful building, and we're working with our partners to repair the damage as quickly as possible." It's distressing that damage was also caused in the area of the newly installed Simba Tree of Tranquility, although thankfully the tree itself was left untouched. This area is dedicated for bereaved parents to honour the memory of their babies, and graffiti in this area is particularly upsetting. A spokesperson for the Simba charity said, "We are deeply saddened to hear about the recent vandalism at Provan Hall. While we are thankful that our newly reinstalled Tree of Tranquility has remained untouched, the graffiti around the tree will no doubt cause distress to local families. We are actively working closely with our friends at Provan Hall to restore the area to the original serene and beautiful space it was, so that bereaved parents can continue to visit and honour their babies. We will continue to work in partnership to ensure this area is protected and preserved." An article written by Rebecca Newlands. Glasgow Times on Monday the 8th of July. Lifestyle. Fans react after Stevie Nicks' Glasgow show is postponed. An article written by Ava White. Devastated fans have shared their reactions after rock icon Stevie Nicks postponed her Glasgow show just hours before she was meant to perform. The OVO Hydro, where the 75-year-old American singer-songwriter had been scheduled to play, announced the news shortly before 2 p.m. on Saturday. In a post published to the venue's X, formerly Twitter account, it states that the Fleetwood Mac star had suffered a recent leg injury, which would require a minor surgical procedure. It's understood that the recovery period for this procedure is expected to take a few days, and as such, Stevie Nicks' gigs in Glasgow and in Manchester on July the 9th have been postponed. According to the venue, rescheduled dates are not yet available, but will be announced soon. A statement reads, "Due to a recent leg injury requiring a minor surgical procedure that will need a few days of recovery time, Stevie Nicks' scheduled performances in Glasgow on Saturday, July the 6th and in Manchester on July the 9th have been postponed. More information will be available at the point of purchase. Ticket holders are advised to hold on to their tickets as rescheduled dates will be announced soon. Stevie looks forward to seeing everyone at Hyde Park in London." Earlier in the day, fans had taken to social media to express their concerns following reports that the concert could be cancelled. By the time the official announcement was made, many said they had already travelled to the city and shared their disappointment at the last-minute cancellation. One person said, "This honestly isn't good enough. 2 p.m. on the day of the concert. Too late to cancel the hotel, and I've only just found out through my friend telling me, as I've received no information from Ticketmaster." A second wrote, "This is very poor. Travel and accommodation booked and paid, and now it's too late to cancel. This must have been known about before today." A third commented, "Why is this announcement so late? This is something that you would have known about all day, only to tell everyone at 2 p.m. on the day is a joke. People are travelling from all over and spending a lot of money." Someone else said, "Having spent 4 hours travelling out of pocket by over £300 and just checked into our hotel to be told by a friend that it's been cancelled. Nothing from OVO Hydro or Ticketmaster. We're absolutely gutted." Another added, "Best wishes to Stevie, but this is poor decision-making. There were reports on X and Facebook hours ago when we were already on our way. A simple gig cancelled, more details to follow would have been appreciated so hotels could be amended and journeys cancelled." Somebody else remarked, "Shocking, now lost over £200 on trains and a hotel, which cannot be refunded because of how last minute this announcement is." An article written by Ava White. Glasgow Times, on Monday, the 8th of July. Lifestyle. A local project is set to benefit from Paolo Nutini's hometown gig. An article written by Emily Moore. A Paisley charity has told of their surprise at receiving an email telling them that they are to receive proceeds from Paolo Nutini's hometown gig. The Star Project says they thought it was a prank when they received the correspondence from Paolo's management. We previously reported that the New Shoes hitmaker announced that tickets for the Paisley Town Hall show could be bid for by text submission, costing £3. A total of 500 pairs of tickets will be up for grabs for the August the 6th event, with the money going to 2 charities. The Star Project aims to support the community and help bring down deprivation rates. They stand for social justice and the improvement of well-being, reducing isolation and tackling hunger. From financial advice to counselling services, the charity supports people from all walks of life by providing vital help. Heather Kay, who has been part of the Star Project for 9 years, says they couldn't believe it when they were told that they would be given some of the gig's proceeds. She said, "We just couldn't believe it. We did think that we might be getting pranked. The email had copied in someone that we knew, so we thought, well, it must be legit. Then we spoke to his manager, and he said Paolo wanted to do something for his hometown. He's really concerned about poverty and people struggling. Then his manager said, so here's what we want to do." It's been a tremendous amount of work trying to keep it secret. He didn't even make that much of a fuss about it either. He's such a good man. The Star Project has recently had its plans approved to take over the adjoining building at their Waller Street base and knock through to have the buildings amalgamated. They hope to create more space for developing clubs and schemes, as well as maintaining the ability to provide a safe space. Their outreach has increased 4-fold since COVID, providing help to thousands of people, and their services are continuously growing. Heather added, "It will give us breathing space. It's going to help us a lot to be able to keep providing these services. It's really needed. We're all about psychological safety here, and that includes the environment. So if someone's coming in distress, we've got one small room that we can take them into. But just having that extra space will allow people to come in and make it their own. We love this building, but it's held together with spit and polish." The news of the show has given the project and the town of Paisley a buzz, as volunteers and staff have taken to the streets to advertise the gig, even getting Paolo's dad to take part. Referring to the people of the town, Heather said, "They feel quite invisible. They feel unheard and unseen, and then all of a sudden there's a spotlight on them, and it's for the right reason. It's nice to hear the buzz. It's nice to hear people excited. There's a boost of people feeling super proud of where they're from." The vast array of services that the STAR project offers includes a food bank, a discounted pantry, counselling, a men's shed, a toddler group, and trips which take place throughout the year. An article written by Emily Moore. Glasgow Times News on Monday, the 8th of July. 8 arrests made during Orange Order walks in Glasgow. An article written by Rosie Lewis. 8 people were arrested during the Orange Order walks in Glasgow. Around 50 parades left communities in various parts of the city on Saturday morning before merging at George Square in the city centre. A policing plan was in place to keep the community safe and to keep any disruption to a minimum. Following the parades, Police Scotland has revealed a total of 8 arrests were made. These were largely in relation to minor acts of disorder. Chief Superintendent Stevie Dolan said, "Officers in Glasgow and in Lanarkshire made a total of 8 arrests during the Orange Order processions on Saturday, July the 6th. The offences were mainly for minor acts of disorder. A proportionate policing plan was in place, and we worked with a range of partners to ensure public safety and to minimise disruption to the wider community. I'd like to thank the vast majority of the participants and the wider community who engaged positively and behaved responsibly throughout." The march briefly brought Bath Street in the city centre to a standstill when it unexpectedly travelled down that route instead of its public route. Long queues also formed on West Campbell Street. Several drivers were apparently trapped in the area of Sauchiehall Lane, as the march had both points of egress closed off. One driver tried to drive through a gap in the march, only to be directed back by police. An article written by Rosie Lewis. Glasgow Times News on Monday, the 8th of July. Multiple ScotRail services affected by a driver shortage. An article written by Rebecca Newlands. Multiple ScotRail services were disrupted yesterday, with no trains calling at 3 Glasgow stations. On Friday, Drivers' Trade Union ASLEF informed ScotRail that it would recommend a ballot of its members to its executive committee in an ongoing pay dispute. As a result, on Sunday, no trains called at Alexandra Parade, Duke Street, Barn Hill or Airbles near Motherwell. Mark Ilderton, ScotRail's Service Delivery Director, said, "We're sorry for the inconvenience caused to our customers. We know how frustrating it is when cancellations occur. We hope that these service alterations will give customers some certainty and reliability when planning their journeys. Customers should check their journey on our website and mobile app before they travel and should also bear in mind that services will be busier than usual. We want to resolve this pay dispute with trade unions and will remain fully committed to further discussions." An article written by Rebecca Newlands. Glasgow Times News on Monday, the 8th of July. Scottish Water's plea to bin the wipes. An article written by Sandhya Suresh. Scottish Water is urging people to bin the wipes as it launches a new campaign to combat blockages. Tackling around 100 blockages a day with wipes found in 80% of them, the company's sewer response teams will now display new signage before leaving a street stencil on the pavement saying, "Another blockage cleared. Flushing wipes blocks pipes. Bin the wipes." It costs around £216 to clear each blockage, equating to £23,000 daily across Scotland. These measures are adopted as a part of Scottish Water's Nature Calls campaign, aiming to encourage people to prevent blockages to reduce property flooding and pollution. The strategic campaign will be implemented across Scotland, including in areas recognised as blockage hotspots. Gary Kirkwood, Customer Manager for Sewer Response at Scottish Water, said, "To some, the street stencils might be regarded as graffiti, but they are temporary and convey a very important message. The real damage is happening below the surface, and it's this which we are highlighting with the stencils. They use environmentally friendly chalk-based paint that weathers and washes away naturally in around 6 weeks, and for safety reasons they will be placed only on pavements and not on roads. We will use them whenever our sewer response teams attend to clear a blockage, and the areas that our community engagement teams attend have been selected because they all have a high number of sewer blockages for their population size. We hope that the signage and stencils have a lasting impact wherever they're used. The team clears about 36,000 blockages per year across the country. An article written by Sandhya Suresh. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 8th of July. A woman is saved from falling into a deadly diabetic coma by a hero nurse. An exclusive article written by Amanda Keenan. A woman who was seconds from falling into a potentially fatal diabetic coma has told how a hero nurse helped to save her life. Amy Rose Cameron knew something was seriously wrong when she became severely underweight and noticed her hair was falling out. A practice nurse at her GP surgery quickly spotted the warning signs of undiagnosed type 1 diabetes, and urgent tests confirmed that she was in diabetic ketoacidosis, also known as DKA. Amy Rose, who is 23, told the Glasgow Times, "The diagnosis was a huge shock and I was rushed to hospital. The situation was extremely serious and my parents were told to come and say their goodbyes. I remember the trauma, but miraculously I pulled through and have made a full recovery without any lasting complications." The experience has fueled Amy Rose's mission to do what she can to educate others about the potentially lethal risks of type 1 diabetes. The life-threatening condition causes blood sugar levels to run high because the pancreas is unable to produce insulin. Most sufferers rely on a regime of multiple daily insulin injections, finger prick testing and carbohydrate counting to survive. Amy Rose, who is from Bishopbriggs, explained, "I wasn't diagnosed with type 1 diabetes until I was very unwell. At the age of around 10, I began experiencing insatiable hunger and thirst. I remember that I would never feel full, no matter how much I ate or drank, and I gradually lost weight. Looking back, I recognise that I had some very common symptoms. However, at the time, the signs were not identified. When I turned 13, my health took a drastic turn for the worse. I became severely underweight and I was perpetually exhausted, unable to participate in activities I loved, like dancing and hockey." Amy Rose says the intervention of a relative pushed medics to investigate further for a proper diagnosis. She added, "My aunt pushed for answers, and that was a crucial turning point. A practice nurse at my GP surgery looked at my history and immediately suspected something was seriously wrong. Urgent blood tests confirmed that I was in diabetic ketoacidosis. Her understanding of the signs and symptoms of type 1 diabetes and her instinct proved life-saving." Amy Rose is bravely sharing her story to highlight to others the seriousness of having conditions like hers go undiagnosed. She said, "I want more people to understand that diabetes is serious and a condition that requires attention 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It can affect you emotionally as well as physically. I also want people to know that with the right support, people can live well with the condition." Her experience has also motivated her to fundraise for the charity Diabetes Scotland, who have helped her to adapt to life as a diabetic. She added, "After reaching out to the charity for support, I realised for the first time that I wasn't the only person with the condition. At lunchtime on the first day, I remember all these blue and pink and red insulin pens coming out and thinking, oh, it's not just me. Speaking to other people of my age made me feel understood and a part of something bigger. I've witnessed firsthand how Diabetes Scotland work improves the lives of people. I currently volunteer with Together Type 1, a Diabetes UK initiative that supports children and young adults living with the condition. I want to raise money to give back to the charity, so I'm hosting the Sugar Bowl to increase awareness and to fundraise for Diabetes Scotland. On top of a lovely dinner and some fantastic entertainment, a key part of the night is to raise awareness about what it's like living with type 1 diabetes. I'm going to share my story, and I'm hoping to have a clinician along to chat about diabetes. Raffles and activities to raise money have been designed to highlight aspects of living with it. John Kinnear, National Director of Diabetes Scotland, said early diagnosis is the key. He added, anyone with the early signs and symptoms of type 1 diabetes need to be diagnosed promptly before they become acutely unwell with DKA. Amy Rose's story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of being aware of the signs and symptoms of diabetes and the early diagnosis of type 1 diabetes. Diabetes Scotland work is much needed and wouldn't be possible without the dedication and generosity of our incredible fundraisers. We are incredibly grateful to Amy Rose for taking on the challenge of organising a ball to raise awareness. This is no mean feat. An exclusive article written by Amanda Keenan.
From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 9th of July, from the news section. Accused bit boxer's ear off in brawl. This article is unattributed. A man who chewed off the ear of an amateur boxer in a brawl outside a nightclub was ordered to do unpaid work. Martin Hendry, 45, pounced on Michael McCrone in Glasgow city centre on July the 9th, 2022. Undefeated fighter McCrone had earlier pushed Hendry and assaulted his partner Anne-Marie Rogan. Super flyweight McCrone then went on to put a thumb into Hendry's eye. HGV driver Hendry then went on to bite the top of McCrone's ear, which has never been reattached. Hendry pleaded guilty under provocation at Glasgow Sheriff Court to assaulting McCrone to his severe injury and permanent disfigurement. Sheriff Brian Cameron imposed 180 hours of unpaid work upon Dad of 4 Hendry. The sheriff said, "You pleaded guilty to very serious offences. I take on board there was a degree of provocation and my sentence will reflect that. You're a first offender and I have never served a prison sentence. Taking everything into account, I'm satisfied I can impose an alternative to custody." The court heard Hendry and Rogan, 42, of Clydebank, were out with a friend nurse Laura Jane Gilbert, 31, who had visited from Inverness. McCrone was thrown out of the Savoy nightclub due to inappropriate comments made to the woman. It was revealed that McCrone has also been prosecuted for this incident and received 180 hours of unpaid work. McCrone was also tagged for 5 months, keeping him indoors between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m, as well as put under supervision for 2 years. Eddie Robertson, defending Hendry, told the sentencing that his client accepts responsibility for the offence. The lawyer added, he is unlikely to commit anything of a serious nature again. And that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 9th of July, from the news section. Crews in city to film new season. The author of this article is unattributed. Several Glasgow roads will close this month to allow for the filming of a popular show. It is understood TV crews will be dotted around parts of the city to film the hit crime drama Shetland. Glasgow City Council has confirmed that Paisley Road West, between Admiral Street and Stanley Street, will be closed from 3 p.m. on July 28th until 11 p.m. on July 29th. Drygate and Cathedral Square will also be closed from 8 a.m. until 11:59 p.m. on July 25th. It comes after we previously reported that Mansfield Street in the West End will be locked down on July the 14th to film parts of the show. The road will also be shut to most traffic between property number 22 and Dumbarton Road from 3 p.m. until 8 p.m. on July 15th. On top of that, filming will also take place on Park Street South and Woodlands. The new series of the show is expected on screens later this year, and the article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 9th of July, from the news section. Drugs worth around £100,000 discovered in 2 homes. This article is unattributed. Drugs thought to be worth around £100,000 have been found in 2 Paisley homes. Officers searched properties in Glenshira Avenue and Waverley Road on Friday, July the 5th. They recovered a quantity of Class A drugs, including cannabis and heroin. A 50-year-old man and a 52-year-old woman were arrested and charged in connection with alleged drugs offences. The pair were due to appear at Paisley Sheriff Court yesterday. Detective Inspector Neil Martin said, "Drugs cause misery in our communities, and Police Scotland is committed to disrupting the cultivation and sale of illegal substances. The public has an important role to play, and we encourage anyone with information or concerns about drugs to contact us via 101 or make a call anonymously to Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. That's Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. And that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 9th of July. From the opinion section, letter to the editor. Customers should stop being rude. I would like to know why more cafes, restaurants and pubs don't have a sign up asking customers not to use their phone at the counter at the same time as being served. Rudeness on some of their mobile phones, at the same time of speaking to counter staff, often not even thanking them properly after paying or before leaving, is so unnecessary. Common courtesy goes a long way, or has some people forgotten? Sad days. Jill Ferguson via email. Readers had their say online after our article asked how the SNP could go from all seats in Glasgow to a total wipeout. It's all quite simple, really. Labour voters who fancied independence and who had lent their vote to the SNP over the last few years have taken their votes back. With no chance of a second referendum, what's the point of voting for the SNP? Bill Anderson. What's more interesting is that Alba Party have 0 seats. You'd think all the independence folk would have moved over to Alba if the SNP was such a failure. Tim Johnson. Reform and independent candidates were the big factors here. SNP lost 1% share of votes. Labour increase was 2% across the UK. If Labour is to progress and succeed, they have to find a way to polarise the population behind a real positive change. If they prove to be incompetent or simply fail to deliver, it will be taken away as quickly as it was given. A great responsibility and a huge challenge. For the sake of everyone in Scotland, I wish them success. I also hope they respect and build on devolution. It was time for change. It's now the time to deliver. Kevin Ross. And that was today's letters to the editor.
This is from the Glasgow Times on the 10th of July 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Latest development on 110-metre Glasgow Bridge before opening." This article is by Rebecca Newlands. The bridge span has been installed on a new Glasgow bridge ahead of its opening in autumn. Work has been continuing on the Govan-Partick Bridge for many months. It is the latest addition to the River Clyde, and it will connect Water Row, close to Govan Cross, to the Riverside Museum at Point House Quay. Now, Glasgow City Council has revealed that the fixed span on the north bank of the River Clyde has been installed in the latest phase of work. They say the new bridge span, installed on Tuesday, will offer us a good view of how it will look when it's fully opened and operational. It comes after we reported that tests were being done on the impressive 110-metre structure, which will carry pedestrians and bicycles between Govan and Partick. It will be one of the largest opening footbridges in Europe,
with a bridge deck 115 metres long and a rotating central span of 68 metres. As it is a swing bridge, ships such as the Waverley steamer will be able to pass through it on her voyages along the Clyde. It is also hoped the bridge will become a key part of the active travel route between Glasgow University's Gilmore Hill campus and the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital. We previously reported that the bridge is part of a bigger plan to regenerate the Govan community, and we visited the ribbon cutting of 92 new social housing flats at 8 Water Row. The development is phase 1 of a plan which was approved in 2019 by Glasgow City Council and Govan Housing Association. This article was by Rebecca Newlands. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 10th of July 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Part of Glasgow Road shut by police after attack." This article was by Rebecca Newlands. Part of a Glasgow road was shut by police after an alleged attack. We previously reported that officers had descended on Broomloan Road in the city's Govan on Tuesday. Images from the scene show police tape along the street while officers stood guard at around 6 p.m. The road appeared to be sealed off near where it meets Paisley Road West. The force confirmed that they had been called out to a report of a serious assault earlier in the day at around 2:40 p.m. A 25-year-old man was rushed to hospital, while a 30-year-old man was arrested and charged in connection. He is due to appear in court at a later date. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, "We were called around 2:40 p.m. on Tuesday, July 9th, to a report of a serious assault on Broomloan Road in Glasgow. Officers attended and a 25-year-old man was taken to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital for treatment. A 30-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection. He is due to appear at Glasgow Sheriff Court at a later date." This article was by Rebecca Newlands. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 10th of July 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "UK's rarest postage stamp being sold for more than £650,000. This article was by Amelia Kettle. The UK's most valuable postage stamp has been listed for sale for £650,000. The legendary Plate 77 penny red was printed in 1864, and there are just 9 examples of the stamp that still exist. 3 remain in private hands, with the others in museums, and the one currently being sold by Paul Fraser Collectibles is said to be in the finest condition. With interest from around the world, the sale is expected to smash the previous record price set at £550,000 when the same example of the Plate 77 penny red sold in 2012. The used stamp has a price of £650,000, a testament to its scarcity and legendary status. The Victorians issued 21 billion penny reds, but just 9 examples exist from printing Plate 77. The authorities only produced 1 sheet of 240 stamps from printing Plate 77 before they realised the plate was defective. They destroyed the printing plate and the sheet, but 9 stamps somehow escaped the incinerator. Paul Fraser Collectibles CEO Mike Hall said, "This stamp is legendary among collectors because it shouldn't exist. While most people know the penny black was the first stamp, it's actually Plate 77 penny reds that sent collectors into a frenzy." The penny red replaced the penny black in 1841, and the British postal authorities issued penny reds until 1879. A small 77 in the stamp's right-hand scrollwork reveals its plate number. This example comes on part of its original envelope, accompanied by a 4-penny stamp. Both have been stamped with a 15 cancellation, denoting its use in Highbury, London. The example was discovered by a Manchester stamp dealer in 1920. This article was by Amelia Kettle. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 10th of July 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Woman due in court after windows cracked on Glasgow offices." This article is by Rosie Lewis. A woman is due to appear in court after windows were cracked on a city centre office building. Cops were called to JP Morgan on Argyle Street at around 2:05 a.m. on Tuesday, July 2nd, after they received a report of vandalism. Pictures of the building show several panels of glass have been cracked near the entrance. A 44-year-old woman was arrested and charged in connection with the incident. She has been released on an undertaking to appear at court at a later date. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, around 2:05 a.m. on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024, police received a report of vandalism to a commercial property in Argyle Street, Glasgow. A 44-year-old woman was arrested and charged in connection with the incident. She has been released on an undertaking to appear at court at a later date. This article was by Rosie Lewis. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 10th of July 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "British passport warning after woman barred from flight home." This article is by Matthew Evans. A yoga teacher is warning holidaymakers to check their passports carefully after being left in tears and stranded in Thailand when she claimed she was barred from her flight back to London because of a tiny tear in her passport. Rosie Viscomi says she was forced to miss her flight from Bangkok to London via India and Turkey on Thursday, 4th of July, after airline officials raised an issue with her passport. The 27-year-old had been staying on the Thai island of Koh Phangan since April after completing her yoga qualification in India. While there, Rosie was learning more about yoga and undertaking voluntary work before deciding to head home back to the UK. The dance and yoga teacher, who lives in Norfolk, had booked a multi-stop flight from Bangkok to India to Turkey before finally London on Thursday. However, upon arriving at Suvarnabhumi Airport in Bangkok, Rosie said she was left crying when she was refused entry by Indigo airline staff due to a 1 centimetre rip on the photo page on her passport. As well as this, the teacher said she was told her visa had expired and she was currently in the country illegally, despite claiming she had extended her visa just days before. Frantic and fearful of arrest, Rosie has been liaising with Thai immigration and the British Embassy to arrange her safe return back home, but the process is costing her hundreds of pounds. Rosie said, "When I went to go for my flight on Thursday, they said, 'You're not going anywhere with that,' referring to a small rip in my passport, and I said, well, it was already like this. They told me India won't let me in, and I need to book a direct flight from Bangkok to London. There's been no issues with travelling until now. I had a tear already on my passport when I came here. I'm not sure if it's got any bigger. It's not that bad. It's like a centimetre on the main page where my picture is. I went to America and Jamaica with it, and it was fine. I missed my flight, which cost about £370. I've had to apply for emergency documents, and I'm just praying I can get back now. I don't actually have any money left. I did not account for this extra expense. Immigration are saying that they could charge me up to £320 on top of the flight cost because I've overstayed my visa. My 60-day visa had ran out for Thailand, so I had to go to the Cambodia border to extend my visa. Everything was fine. Then at the airport they told me that I didn't get the right stamps and I was here illegally. Rosie has since forked out hundreds of pounds to pay for a new flight and acquire new emergency travel documents to travel back home. She has since booked a new flight from Bangkok to London and is hoping to return to England by Tuesday, July 9th. Rosie said, "It's very scary. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if they were going to arrest me because I didn't have the correct stamp. Rosie's sister has launched a fundraising page to help pay for the extra travel costs. There's so many complications. I was at immigration just crying and everyone kept saying there's nothing they can do. I thought I had all the right visa documents. I didn't realise I had the wrong stamp. They wouldn't let me fly anyway because of the tear on the passport. I just want to go home. Seems like more and more problems keep arising. It's really stressful. I never thought a tear would be such a problem for me. This is all just added extra and I'm not working right now. An Indigo Airlines spokesperson said, on July 4th, 2024, a foreign national flying on Indigo Flight 6E1054 from Bangkok to Delhi was unable to board as their passport was found to be damaged. Indigo followed the guidelines by the regulatory authorities and offered requisite assistance to the customer. Customers are advised to familiarise themselves with such guidelines, which may differ from country to country. This article was by Matthew Evans.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Review and to tell your friends about our service.